This is a Texas Instruments 99.4A, and it did not win the home computer war of the 1980s. I'm Matt D'Amico, and welcome to episode 6 of Retro Bits. In today's bit, we take a brief look at the TI 99.4A home computer's place in history. This machine has a special place in my heart as it was my family's very first home computer when I was only 5 or 6 years old. I have fond memories of the system, but couldn't fully appreciate the design or the market forces shaping the industry at the time. I had originally intended this bit to focus on the TI speech synthesizer, but in putting together the history segment, I ran into some unexpected scope creep, so I decided to split this out into its own video, so look out for that in the future. The 99.4A was released in 1981 for a retail price of $525 US, not including a monitor. This model was an update from the 1979 TI 99.4 and featured an improved keyboard design and enhanced bitmap graphics capabilities. The 4 and 4A have the distinction of being the first 16-bit home computers to hit the market when competing models were still using 8-bit processors. The machine featured TI's own TMS 9900 16-bit CPU running at 3 MHz. The CPU was released in 1976 and competed directly against the Intel 8088 for inclusion in the yet-to-be-released IBM PC. When Texas Instruments lost that bid, they decided to use it in their own home computer instead. A feature that set the 4A apart from many competing models of the day was its dedicated sound and graphics chips. The TMS 9918A video chip allows for 16 colors in character and bitmap modes and features hardware sprites. The chip was also used in the MSX, Coleco, and Memotech MTX and was also the basis for updated versions in Sega's 8 and 16-bit game consoles. The TMS 9919 sound chip allowed the 4A to produce 3 simultaneous square wave voices in addition to 1 noise channel. The chip was the basis for the SN76489, which was used in arcade machines, BBC Micros, Coleco, Sega Master System and Genesis, the Tandy 1000 and more. The machine allowed for expansion by means of daisy-chaining sidecar devices out of the right side of the machine. In order to combat the resulting desk utilization problem, TI later released the peripheral expansion box to house the various cards and disk drives. For the majority of home users, however, programs were loaded by way of ROM cartridges, from cassette tape, or entered manually using the built-in BASIC interpreter. So we can't really talk about the history of TI home computers without bringing up Commodore. Prior to the purchase of MOS Technology and their entry into the home computer market, Commodore sold electronic calculators that were made utilizing TI chips. And what is now the stuff of legends, TI entered the calculator market directly, selling fully assembled units for less than other manufacturers were paying just for the chips. This move nearly put Commodore out of business. Founder and Commodore boss Jack Tramiel took this personally and vowed to have his revenge on TI. His reprisal came in the form of a home computer price war several years later, at the start of the 1980s.
You have to have an attitude that it's war, and it's there to win. You have to be the winner.
If you recall, in 1981, the 99.4A was priced at just over $500. By 1982, TI had been forced to lower the price to just $200 with a rebate program in order to stay price competitive with the Commodore VIC-20, which had already been on the market for a few years and was cheaper to produce.
This is $100 for the people, right?
Just a month later, Commodore lowered their price again, forcing TI to follow suit. By spring of 1983, the VIC was down to just $100. Meanwhile, the 64 had entered the scene and begun its rise to sales dominance.
The battle for this market is both cut price and cutthroat, and casualties are mounting. Atari has posted losses and changed management. Texas Instruments is losing money and hopes new marketing executives can turn it around. Timex is having trouble holding on to its early successes.
In an attempt to respond, TI created a lower-cost 4A model with a new case design and consolidated multiple chips into a single package. Steep discounts were offered on peripherals, and some were even given away free at purchase in an attempt to woo buyers. All this ultimately led TI to lose money with every 4A unit sold. By the end of 1982, TI had captured nearly 35% of the American home computer market, but this was not to be the case for long. The bitter price war with Commodore and subsequent discounts resulted in massive losses to the tune of $100 million a quarter, several quarters in a row. So despite not being price competitive, surely the 4A was a superior machine due to its speedy 16-bit processor, right? Well, not so fast. At first glance, the specs sound great, but TI designed the 4A with only 256 bytes of memory on the 16-bit bus. The only other available memory was 16 kilobytes of video display RAM, which had to be accessed through a slow 8-bit multiplexer, throwing away any performance advantage the machine may have had.
Another issue that plagued the system was the lack of developer support and available software titles. TI maintained tight control of the software releases and discouraged third-party development. Thus, the system lacked ports of popular software or arcade conversions, eventually having a library of around 100 game titles. TI even went so far as to lock out unlicensed cartridges from third-party developers in their later hardware. Meanwhile, development for competing machines from Apple and Commodore soared. Lastly, the small keyboard with a non-standard layout and lack of 80-column display made the machine a bad fit for word processing or other serious business applications. All of these factors together led to a discontinuation of the system in 1984 with just 2.8 million units shipped, and with TI exiting the home computer market entirely. Jack had got his revenge, but it wasn't without a cost to Commodore or other manufacturers such as Atari that got caught up in the home computer price war of 1983.
Despite the failure of the 99 4A, it's an interesting exercise to imagine what the landscape of today would be like had TI's processor been selected for the IBM PC instead of Intel's.
While it was all bad news for the business, the 99 4A did end up in a good number of American households due to its low cost, retail availability, and incentive programs. Some developers, such as Atari Soft and Parker Brothers, defied TI's attempts to monopolize the software supply chain and released unlicensed, yet high-quality arcade ports that really demonstrated what the custom graphics and sound hardware were capable of. In many cases, these unlicensed titles were superior to much of the official software TI was publishing. To this day, a small but active community of enthusiasts continues to develop new homebrew software and hardware solutions to keep the spirit of the 99 4A alive.
Dragon's Lair, a fantasy adventure where you become a valiant knight on a quest to rescue the fair princess from the clutches of an evil dragon.
So there we have it, the TI 99 4A home computer. If you've never had an opportunity to try one out, now is a great time.
I picked up this mint condition machine complete in box for $23 at auction, and there are all sorts of modern upgrades to play around with, including Raspberry Pi projects, DIY builds, and mass storage solutions, which I'll talk about in future bits.
The home computer from Texas Instruments. This is the one.
I hope you enjoyed this bit. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time on Retro Bits.